Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents The Enneagram in Love, a roadmap for building and strengthening romantic relationships, by Stephanie Barron Hall, narrated by Leslie Howard. Introduction. The Enneagram has more pop culture buzz than ever, and this book aims to help seasoned students and newcomers to the Enneagram understand the self and others better. Whether you want to work on a relationship or if your partner suggested this book, I hope you find it useful. As you listen, it's natural to wonder where things have gone awry in your relationship or plan your future successes. However, I first encourage you to sit with who you and your partner are right now. Notice things that you appreciate about each other and give voice to them. This will support your growth. If a loved one gave you this book, you're in good company. My husband, Brandon, knew my fascination with personality typology and introduced me to the Enneagram. I had other interests at the time, and I found the complexity intimidating at first, so I brushed it off. Months later, my sister, Haley, also encouraged me to pick up the Enneagram. Like many good things in life, the second nudge was the one I needed. I started by taking a free test online, although you'll learn that I don't recommend this method. And when the word achiever popped up on the page, I thought, yes, I won. I had won the Enneagram test, and I was elated. As I learned more, this joy faded to a deep sadness and disorientation about my identity. I soon learned that Enneagram wisdom has a way of illuminating our darkest shadows, and only when we see ourselves clearly can we begin the process of growth. Self-acceptance, of course, is the first step. We can't change what we can't see, and we can't see when we get defensive, even toward ourselves. Thus began my journey of processing my identity, seeing beneath the exterior of who I believed I was, and finding steps toward growth. As my husband and I navigated the Enneagram, we learned more about ourselves. As a Type 3, I learned that when I feel things, I often feel discomfort or an inner ickiness before emotion. When that feeling crept in before, I turned up the radio or jumped into a new project. Through the Enneagram, I've learned to tune into what I'm feeling, rather than avoid it with activity. Brandon and I don't share an Enneagram type, but we do share the tendency to avoid our feelings. We didn't know this before. We thought everyone was like us, leaping from project to project, filling a calendar with exciting endeavors. We didn't realize that these were coping mechanisms used to outrun that creeping shame, sadness, anger, or fear that was always at our heels. We've used the Enneagram to learn to acknowledge our feelings. We take time to process emotions together now, to give each other space to feel, and to ask good questions so that we can find the connection we've both always wanted but weren't sure how to find. I hope that as you listen and connect with your loved one, you'll find that connection too. As you examine and strengthen your relationship through the wisdom of the Enneagram, you'll also find clarity, kindness, beauty, and love. In this book, I will first give an overview of the Enneagram, its origins, uses, and the information you need to find your type. Next, I'll explain how each of the types shows up in intimate relationships, including in the bedroom. Finally, I'll cover each of the 45 type pairings so that you can understand your partnership with greater clarity. As you begin, I encourage you to be open to what you might learn. Stay curious, practice gratitude, and expect transformation. Now let's get started. The Enneagram. The Enneagram is a motivation-based personality system oriented around 9 core motivations. This focus on motivation requires that students cultivate greater self-understanding to truly understand and use the tool well. The beauty of the Enneagram is in its complexity. While not an exhaustive guide, this section is intended to offer a working understanding of what the Enneagram is and how to use it. The Enneagram is often misunderstood as just another way to sort ourselves into boxes. In reality, the Enneagram is unique in that it is intended to act as a guide toward inner growth and change. Rather than simply describing us like many other personality profiling systems do, the Enneagram is intended to uncover underlying motivations so that we can move from our personality box and into greater integration and wholeness. It sheds light on the parts of ourselves we're unaware of or don't want to admit, and it helps us understand how to move toward health according to our specific type. We often live on autopilot, but understanding the Enneagram helps us to see ourselves and our way of being in the world more clearly, so that we can live with more intention. A brief history. The modern Enneagram is an interwoven system of ancient wisdom and contemporary psychology. While its exact origins are unknown, its most notable contributors are George Gurdjieff, Oscar Ichazo, and Claudio Naranjo. Enneagram means nine-sided, ennea, drawing, gram, and the shape itself dates back millennia. George Gurdjieff began teaching his version of the tool in the early 1900s, having been led to the Enneagram symbol through his studies of religious, philosophical, and other oral traditions. Gurdjieff is primarily known for using the Enneagram shape in all its symbolism to guide his students toward enlightenment. Like the Enneagram symbol, the 9 personality archetypes also have ancient roots, but Oscar Ichazo developed them further. The modern Enneagram emerged when Ichazo combined Gurdjieff's work with further developments in his own study of the human psyche. Ichazo identified 9 ego fixations in his studies, based on the 7 deadly sins, plus deceit and fear. He combined these 9 core motivations with the Enneagram symbol to form the 9 types as we know them. Ichazo overlaid his discovery over Gurdjieff's work, called the Fourth Way, to establish what we now call the Enneagram. Once Ichazo's work gained traction, he imparted much of this wisdom to California psychiatrist Claudio Naranjo. Naranjo then emerged as one of the founders of the present Enneagram of personality. Many important texts from Enneagram scholars were written in the 1980s by Jesuits, spiritual seekers, psychiatrists, and professors, among others. Specifically, Father Richard Rohr, spiritual directors, and even Mother Teresa used the Enneagram for their own spiritual development. However, these works affected only a small segment of people, and the Enneagram didn't gain broad appeal until its re-emergence in the 2000s. Since then, a growing number of people have found it to be a useful framework for growth. For the past 40 years or so, the Enneagram has been used broadly in Christian contexts, though no present-day religious entity can lay claim to the tool or its wisdom. The early developers of the modern Enneagram found that each of us has a set of coping and defense mechanisms, stories, patterns, and motivations that create our personality. Many personality typologies stop there, but the Enneagram helps us uncover the true essence, hidden deep within the self, of what it means to be who we truly are. As Rizzo and Hudson write, the Enneagram does not put us in a box. It shows us the box we are already in, and the way out. The personality is our default operating mode, but as we study the Enneagram, we can observe our standard ways of interacting and choose a more self-supportive, helpful way of being. The path of self-improvement begins with this self-awareness. You cannot change what you do not know exists. Studying the Enneagram guides growth by drawing attention to the unchallenged patterns in our personality. Observing and giving voice to these patterns helps us see the ways that we are selling ourselves short or stunting growth by staying within our normal frame of mind. Uncovering our core motivation draws attention to our shadow side, or those parts of the self that we subconsciously know exist, but would rather not see. The shadows are the darkest parts of ourselves. We typically hide from or numb them, but this severely hinders our growth. The Enneagram brings the shadows into the light so that we can find growth, and it also highlights our strengths. The Enneagram's impact on relationships and communication is one of the best reasons I've found to study it. The simple realization that we are all different is enough to help us extend more empathy and compassion to others. Understanding our partner's Enneagram type helps us understand them a bit better, so we can offer kindness when our wires get crossed. The Enneagram gives us a common language to discuss challenges and insights, and acts as a guide to a closer, more fulfilling relationship. The intelligence centers. The Enneagram can be broken down into 3 centers of intelligence: heart, 2, 3, 4, head, 5, 6, 7, and gut or body, 8, 9, and 1. This powerful component acknowledges views of intelligence beyond book smarts, which are typically most prized in many Western cultures. The Enneagram encourages each type to harness the power of their own center of intelligence. Head types perceive through thinking. Each of the head types has a go-to thought mechanism for warding off their underlying fear and anxiety. 5s learn all they can because they believe knowledge and competence will keep them from being overwhelmed by the world outside their minds. 6s plan for the worst-case scenario because they believe that planning and preparation will keep them safe and secure. 7s run headlong into the future because they believe they can avoid feeling anxious by holding tightly to freedom and opportunity. The gut or body types perceive through gut intuition. Each of the gut types has a tactic to cope with the anger bubbling inside them. 8s confront their anger head-on and are the most outwardly angry of this triad. 9s fall asleep to their anger to keep the peace and may not even know it exists. 1s repress their anger because it is not appropriate, although it then leaks out as resentment. The heart types perceive through emotional intelligence. Each of the heart types have a particular way of dealing with their deep shame as they search for their true identity. 2s are keenly attuned to the feelings of others and often feel what those around them are feeling. They are often more connected to the feelings of others than they are to their own. 3s create a self-image of worth through productivity. Their shame pushes them toward their picture of success. 4s are deeply introspective and explore their feelings internally. They search to find their own true identity as they feel they need a deeper connection with their true selves. What's your type? Terms like self-care, self-love, and self-improvement saturate our culture. This fascination with personal development includes fascination with the personality and personality assessments. Most people like to learn about themselves, and this self-awareness from diving deeply into personality analysis encourages our growth. There are dozens of ways to measure personality, but the Enneagram is popular for its eerie accuracy and dynamic complexity. Many Enneagram enthusiasts describe their first encounter with their type as a deeply resonant experience. Reading the thoughts and motivations buried deep within can unsettle and comfort us simultaneously. Exposing the true self can be unnerving, but knowing others experience life similarly can be reassuring. The self-understanding that Enneagram wisdom offers does not materialize overnight. It unfolds gradually. I find that tests can be counterproductive for this reason. Rather than relying upon a quick online test for a black-and-white answer, I recommend self-reflection, contemplation, and self-discovery to find your type. To find your type, begin with curiosity. Withholding self-judgment is one of the most important elements of self-observation. While slipping into self-criticism is tempting, especially when reading about the negative traits of each Enneagram type, it is neither helpful nor productive. I recommend cultivating curiosity instead. Rather than thinking, I hate that I do that, try, that's an interesting response. I wonder why I do that. The Enneagram is ultimately about uncovering the unconscious patterns and stories we've carried inside us throughout life. And the self-compassion in the latter reaction helps you to see yourself more clearly. While tests provide a specific path to find your type, I recommend holding the results loosely. Tests can diminish the value of learning about yourself as you try to determine your type, and the results can confuse a new Enneagram student. The slow route is better. Focus on motivation, not behavior. This specific correction will pop up time and again in Enneagram study. It is much easier to judge a person's outer appearance and behavior, but the real work is in understanding motivation. It's important to keep in mind what truly motivates you when considering type descriptions. For example, sometimes 3s and 5s exhibit similar behavior. They both love to learn, for instance, but their deeply held motivations for engaging in that behavior are quite different. Pay attention to the motivation of each type as you learn. Many Enneagram tests are inaccurate because they focus on behavior and fail to adequately assess core motivation. Typically, the only tests I recommend are the IEQ-9 and the Ennea app. Even with these tests, it's important to hold the results loosely in your mind. The process of discovering your Enneagram type is ultimately an exercise in learning to trust yourself. As you learn, observe, study, and reflect, remember that at the end of it all, it's your type. Only you know your core motivation. You can trust yourself to uncover it. You'll find a discussion of each Enneagram type and some important educational information surrounding Enneagram theory in the next sections. They will be useful as you and your partner learn more about the Enneagram together. A discussion of the Enneagram types in love will follow, and the book will conclude with detailed descriptions of all 45 type pairings. This material is intended to help you understand yourself and your partner more clearly, so you can cultivate the fulfilling, connected relationship you desire. While it's tempting to tell your partner what type they are, consider letting them listen to this book. They may find themselves with more certainty when they're able to approach it with fresh eyes. Basic personality type. It's common to see yourself in several of the personality type descriptions as you listen. Taking time to journal, reflect, or ponder your core motivations can be helpful. Get curious and ask yourself why you do what you do. Consider your response to this question. Then ask again. When you have asked why 5 or 6 times, you'll likely get closer to your core motivation. Remember that this type of self-discovery is not instant, and it can take more time than expected to identify your type. If you can't figure it out in this opening section, listen on for more clarity. Sometimes we can see ourselves most clearly when we hear how we relate with others. It will be helpful to return to the Intelligence Center sidebar to consider your type. When self-typing, most people are able to choose a few types that resonate, and these are often in different intelligence centers. Returning to that section will be useful to see yourself more clearly. The types are Type 1, the improver; Type 2, the helper; Type 3, the performer; Type 4, the individualist; Type 5, the observer; Type 6, the loyalist; Type 7, the enthusiast; Type 8, the challenger; Type 9, the peacemaker. Type 1, the improver. Type 1 is called the improver. Ones are motivated by the need to be truly good and right. They believe an ideal world could exist, and they work hard to bring it into existence. As members of the Gut Intelligence Center, ones have underlying anger that they feel is inappropriate to express. Instead, they turn their anger inward in the form of an inner critic, an incessant berating voice that focuses on every area in which the one is falling short of perfection. Ones turn the harshest criticism inward, while outwardly they are diligent, intentional, and purposeful. They're thoughtful and considerate of the needs of others, and they want to make the world a better place. Type 2, the helper. Type 2 is called the helper. 2s are motivated by the need to be loved and wanted, and they believe they are most lovable when they are helping others. They use their keen emotional intelligence to understand what others need and offer constant support, encouragement, and love to the people around them. 2s generally want others to feel loved and satisfied, yet they often forget to take care of their own needs in the process. When unhealthy, 2s give love to others to get love in return. As members of the Heart Center, 2s are emotionally aware, and they tend to reflect the feelings of others with great compassion. Type 3, the performer. Type 3 is called the performer. 3s are motivated by the need to find their worth and value in their productivity. 3s are high achievers and strive for success in whatever way most resonates with their cultural or familial upbringing. As members of the Heart Center, they sense the emotional energy of a room and adapt to fit what they believe is expected of them. This chameleon-like quality allows 3s to connect easily with others, yet sometimes 3s aren't as aware of who they truly are. 3s stay busy to avoid feeling their feelings, and they are highly productive, engaging, and adaptable. Type 4, the individualist. Type 4 is called the individualist. 4s are motivated by the need to find their true heart. 4s tend to feel that they are different from others. Sometimes they love being different, and sometimes they hate it. They long to be deeply seen and loved for who they are, yet they are on a lifelong quest to become more of whom they believe themselves to be. 4s are idealists who long for a world that is not reality, and they mourn the shortcomings they see. 4s are in the Heart Center, and they feel all their feelings deeply. They are on a lifelong quest to find meaning and significance in their life, yet in their longing, they often miss the beauty that exists all around them. Type 5, the observer. Type 5 is called the observer. 5s are motivated by the need to be competent and self-sufficient. 5s only have a specific amount of energy for each day, so they conserve their energetic, emotional, and material resources to avoid feeling depleted. As members of the Head Center, 5s aim to manage underlying fear and anxiety by collecting information they believe will calm them. 5s are cerebral and thoughtful, and they tend to be able to retain a vast amount of information, especially related to their niche interests. Type 6, the loyalist. Type 6 is called the loyalist. 6s are motivated by the need to be supported and safe. 6s often don't trust others easily, but once they do, they are deeply loyal and enduring. As members of the Head Center, 6s use worst-case scenario contingency planning to manage any fear or anxiety that might pop up when they consider what could go wrong. They make plans to ensure their survival, and they make sure the community is safe as well. 6s tend to be friendly, analytical, and responsible. They are often the ones who make sure everything gets done. Type 7, the enthusiast. Type 7 is called the enthusiast. 7s are motivated by the need to retain their freedom and escape pain or boredom. They are fun-loving adventure seekers who enjoy spreading laughter wherever they go. As members of the Head Center, 7s avoid their inner fear or anxiety by running headlong into the future, believing that if they are always moving, they'll never get trapped. 7s see everything in life as an opportunity, yet they are often so busy planning the next adventure that they don't allow themselves to enjoy the moment. While they want others to share in their happiness, their independent streak sometimes causes them to leave others behind. 7s are versatile, optimistic, and idealistic. Type 8, the challenger. Type 8 is called the challenger. 8s are motivated by the need to protect themselves from being controlled by others. 8s often get a reputation for being bullies, but this couldn't be further from the truth. 8s fight the injustice they see around them and will stand up for the vulnerable. They seek the truth, and they don't mind dismantling cultural norms to find it. As members of the Gut Center, 8s are well acquainted with their anger and don't mind confrontation. The 8's larger-than-life energy can be intimidating or too intense for others, leaving others feeling bulldozed and the 8 feeling misunderstood. Type 9, the peacemaker. Type 9 is called the peacemaker. 9s are motivated by the need to be at peace both internally and externally, and to maintain unity and connection. 9s constantly feel trapped between two forces, the outside world of demands, pressure, and calls upon their energy, and the inside world of their thoughts, feelings, and opinions. Avoiding this pressure can cause 9s to mentally fall asleep to themselves. As members of the Gut Center, 9s have an undercurrent of anger, but they often aren't aware of it, since they spend so much time keeping the peace. 9s have only a limited amount of energy each day. They spend much of it keeping the peace, believing any disruption will break the connections they have built with others. The wing. Your core type does not change, as it is attached to your core motivation. The wing is an adjacent type to your core type and alters your behavior. Your core type is the why, and your wings are the how. Most Enneagram scholars agree that wings can shift throughout life. In my coaching and teaching, I have found that some people feel they have a strong wing, some people feel they have balanced wings, and some people don't have a wing at all. You may have noticed that the side-by-side Enneagram types seem somewhat opposite. This is a component that makes the Enneagram so dynamic. The types on either side of our core type offer much-needed balance and perspective. Type 2, for example, is highly relational, yet they have highly task-oriented types on either side. The wings bring balance to the core type. It's useful to understand your wing or wings, because specific wing and core type combinations can alter the way a type shows up in the world. For example, an 8 with a 9 wing is more calm, steady, and enduring than an 8 with a 7 wing, who is typically more gregarious, independent, and forceful. Wings are demarcated by a lowercase w between the core and wing type. Core W wing, or 8W7. When a person feels they have either both or no wings, they will typically drop the W altogether and simply write 8. Using the Enneagram. You likely have a good idea by now about your own type, and you may even have a guess about your partner's type. The Enneagram offers much wisdom, but you must begin to do the hard work of growth to access it. Here are a few guidelines to get you started. Notice your tendencies. The Enneagram calls attention to the hidden or subconscious patterns in our lives. Observing your patterns and their motivations beneath can jumpstart your growth process. Question your patterns. What responses no longer serve you? What do you believe about yourself that may not be true anymore? What patterns pop up time and again when you encounter stress or conflict? If your typical pattern is to react first and think later, consider pausing before you engage. If you are more likely to stay silent in conflict, practice speaking up for yourself when the stakes are low. The idea is not that our patterns are always wrong, but that when they have gone unchallenged for a lifetime, they may get in the way of our growth. Begin to tell yourself a new story. When we're on autopilot, our thoughts, feelings, and actions tend to get ahead of us. We tell ourselves stories about who we are and the way we engage with others. When you tell yourself a new story, you can find a new path toward wholeness. Engage empathy and compassion. This journey is challenging, especially at first. As you become healthier, you will continually find new ways that you can grow. Throughout your Enneagram journey.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?